In this tutorial, we're going to learn the basics of Google Earth Studio, how to use it to create fantastic animations like this. This entire animation was created using this Google Earth Studio, and in this video, I'm going to show you step-by-step process on how to create something like this. So without taking much of our time, let's get started.
So to start with, the first thing you need to do is to open any of your browser. You could use Chrome, you can use Mozilla or Microsoft Edge. You can use any of them to kickstart your editing or to kickstart your Google Earth Studio. So all you need is to come to the search bar over here and just search in Google, and it will bring you over here. You can just go ahead and search for Google Earth Studio just like this, and you can hit on enter. And the first option that comes up, you can see it's by Google. Okay, so this is it, Google Earth Studio. Or you can go ahead and type google.com/earth/studio, and it will bring you over to the same platform. So you can click on the first option, which will bring you over here. Again, you can see this is google.com/earth/studio. You can still go to this directly and it will bring you over here. So let the world tell your story. And Earth Studio is an animation tool for Google Earth satellite and 3D imagery. So you can just go ahead and explore whatever is available over here. This is just a preview. You can come down here and you can see other features as regards what you can do with Google Earth Studio. What's inside Google Earth Studio, some of the key basic things. You can find the quick start project, the animation effects, the 3D camera exports, and so on. You'll be able to just have a preview of what you want to work on if you can go through this. It's just for preview purpose. Now to start, you can just come over here to the top right and click on Try Earth Studio. You can just click on Try Earth Studio, and it is going to take you over to this. It is going to redirect you to this sign up form. Okay, so this is where you can fill in your email, your first name, your last name, your email address, and your company name. Okay, so you can just go ahead, put in your first name, last name, your email address, your company name, for example. You can put something like mentorship. So your country, you can specify your country over here, and then you can specify what kind of industry are you working on. So you can just specify and give the details what you are going to use Earth Studio for. So once you specify all this, you can click on submit, and usually you can get accepted within 24 hours. But I've seen cases of people who have stayed longer, maybe 3-4 days. You just have to be patient and they'll get back to you. So once you get accepted, you receive an email, something like this. Welcome to Google Earth Studio, and great news, you've been invited to preview Google Earth Studio. So you can see it, you can preview it by visiting this website, or you can go and check out the pages and other documentations, and even you can join the forum. If you're interested in joining the forum, you can see a lot of creators and people with like minds and discussing some of the progresses that they are making, or some of the challenges they are facing while using Google Earth Studio, and what and how they are being addressed. The challenges have been addressed. So this is one of the Google Earth Studio user forum. You can just go ahead and join. There are plenty of people that you can find and you can work with. Very interesting. So you can, on your own, come over here, click on earth.google.com/studio as well, and you'll be taken back to that same platform. Okay, so make sure you have your email address registered, because it's going to be with that email address that you submit that form that you're going to have this access to the Google Earth Studio. Okay, so the first thing you need to understand is you have two options to start. The first one is you can open an existing project, which is not for our own case because we have not created anything yet. So you cannot open anything, but you can click on this drop down. If you have created a last project, you can always open it, or you can import this type of file into this. It also recognizes ESP files. Now, in our own case, we have to start from blank project, but then you can click on this drop down as well to have the quick start. Now let me click on the quick start so you can have an understanding of what kind of start you have. These are just like template to begin. You can begin with this template. This is zoom to fit. You can zoom from the entire globe to a specified location. And you can see this is orbit that turns around the globe, or that particular location that you are trying to target. Or this is point to point. Okay, so you go from one point to another from this point to another point, or you can use the spiral template. You can see it comes in spiral form, still highlighting that particular location that you're dealing with. And then you can go over and see more. You can see the orbit. You can see the fly to orbit, fly to an orbit. You can see fly to that location, then it orbits. A very, very nice template that you can start. You can see also other spiral. But for this, we're going to start afresh. We're going to start from a fresh blank project within Google Earth Studio. So you can come back over here. Now to start a project, you can just come over, say blank project. You can click on blank project and you'll be able to be brought into this very platform. Now, the first thing you need to do is to create the project name. What do you want to work on? You have to create the project name. So in my own case, for example, I want to do the Edinburgh Castle. For example, let's say the Edinburgh Castle project. And you can have the option to, now I've named my project Edinburgh Castle project, and you can check out the world. You can do in addition to Earth, you can equally do Moon, you can do Mars, depending on your choice. But for this tutorial, for this course, it's just going to be on Earth. Okay, so over here you can specify the dimensions. You have the option to adjust the dimensions over here from 1920 by 1080, which is the HD. You can change the duration using the frames. Here you have the option to choose either to use frames or to use time codes. Time code is, I find it very much better because it is easy for you to tell how many seconds that you want your project at its entirety to be. So let's say we are going to use 60 seconds. So let's 60 seconds. So let's say we're going to do 60 seconds, and you can see it's automatically recognized that this is 1 minute. So we're going to create 1 minute project of the Edinburgh Castle project, okay, using time code. So the frame rate, you can go ahead and vary the frame rate depending on your location and how you want it. But for this tutorial, we'll keep everything at 30 frame rates per second. So everything is set up as regards to project. You can just go ahead and click on start, and then you'll be brought into this very platform. So this is the main platform where you will conduct all of your editings, explorations, animations, and everything. So we've created the project that talks about the Edinburgh project. So over here, this is the platform. The first thing you need to see is that you have this big canvas. Okay, this is where the main thing happened. This is where you see the Earth, the Google Earth. Okay, you can see the globe over here, and you'll be able to move it to any location of your choice. When you click with your mouse, you can see you'll be able to move it, and you can navigate to any location globally. This is the globe. You can move anywhere. And this is the canvas that showcases all of the views that you want to have. Now over here to the top left, you have the file where you can create a project. You can save as, you can export, you can check out the project settings like the ones we've just discussed that we've just set up. You can always change them by coming to project settings over here, and you can always come to preferences. You have other things to check like the start page. How do you want the landing page, and the project settings as well? You can access from here the rendering and other user interface, history, clear history, and so on. You can be able to do all of this. So edit page, you have other things like copy and paste. The view, you can change the view from the normal circle viewport to one viewport to two viewports. I'll show you how to use all of these. Preview quality, you can, depending on the strength of your network, you can use low quality, but I think normal is quite okay. So you have other available simple features. Overlays, we'll talk about some of them. And then animations, you have how you render your project. Usually we have cloud renders. Okay, I will show you in detail how to do this. And then you have documentations from the help menu. You can check out the documentations and some tutorials also that you can use if you're interested. And we have a number of keyboard shortcuts that you can use also to fasten your work. So these are about the main tabs over here at the top. Over here, down here, you have the option to search. You can search for any location. You can just go ahead by just typing the location. Google is going to suggest some of the places, and you can just go ahead and just search directly, and you go to that location. This is where you do most of your search of a country, of any location, or any edifice that you want to work on. Now over here, you can toggle to full screen, and then here you have the option to loop back. When it is playing, you can always go back to the starting point, And you can click on this to have single playback, which is the one I prefer. So you can click to have single playback, you can click to have ping pong playback, or you can come back to loop playback, depending on what you want. Now over here, these are other play features. You can play directly from the beginning of your editing point, or you can move previous frame and this is to the next frame, or to the jump to the workspace end, or to the beginning directly. You can do them with all of these features. This is a timestamp. You'll be able to see it down here. Down here you have the attributes. You can add attributes. You can see we have two attributes: the camera positions. You can see them, the latitude, longitude, the altitude, and then you have the camera rotations. You can collapse all of them so you'll be able to see what we are talking about. So you have two the attributes over here, and these are keyframes. You can add keyframes. If you've done video editing before, keyframes are just to specify a particular effect, and then you can click or record that effect from that moment. I'll show you how to use it in detail so you can understand. And you can always come over here to click on add more attributes, and you can see we have other attributes like the camera target, the field of view, the time of the clouds, and the clean overlay, and 3D buildings and roles. You can add some of them, and in this tutorial we are going to look at how to add some of them and play around with some of their features as well, so you understand. Now down here we have the timeline. This is where you do all of your editings. Okay, you have the playhead that you can move. If you recall, our entire project is just for 60 seconds, which is 1 minute. So you can use the playhead over here to navigate across to any point within the project. So, and over here, like I said, you can have one view. You can change it to two view. If you click, it will just give you another view from the camera view over here. You'll be able to see a camera view from the right, and you have the option to zoom in, to zoom out. The same way over here, you can do that as well. So you can always refer back and get back to the single view. And then you have the camera position. You can have it to top view, north, south, east, and west. We're going to look at how this affects our editing and how to use it very, very effectively. Now, at the top right over here, we have the save current frame to JPEG. You can always take a screenshot of the frame that you are working on by just clicking on this. It's going to save it to JPEG for you, and you can export it and use it directly. I'll show you how to do this as well very easily. Now we have the render feature. This is where you can render your project, whatever you've created, whatever animations you've created. You can always come over here to render it, so you can have the result either in JPEG format, in pictorial format, or in MP4, which is the video format. You can always come to render, and you can render and export your video. The video you see at the beginning of this course at the introductory stage is created using the rendering aspect, and it's exported in MP4. So we're going to look in details how to use all of this. And then at any given point, you can right click and have other features that you can work with if this is what you are interested in. The first thing you need to understand is that you have the globe over here, which you can use with the left click. You can left click and hold, and you can be able to pan around just like so. You can wind it to any angle of your choice with just mere left click, and you can zoom in to any location of your choice by just directly scrolling using the scroll wheel. When you move forward, you can zoom in just like so. You can get to any detail of your choice while you are allowing it to stream to the detail. If you know exactly where you are looking for, you can navigate around very easily. And you can zoom out when you scroll the wheel backwards just like so. You are now zooming out of that particular location. Okay, zoom in and zoom out with the mouse wheel. Now another thing you can still use with the left click is you can left click and you can pan around. If you know exactly where you are looking for, you can left click and hold, and you can pan around to that location very easily. Okay, so you can see I'm left clicking and holding, and I'm panning around the globe, and you can zoom in and out. Okay, and another way to do it is, if assuming you search for a particular place, let's say the Eiffel Tower. Let's say the Eiffel Tower in France. So if you are able to search for this, you can use a left click to pan around, to move around, or you can use the scroll wheel. You can press the scroll wheel, hold it, and then you can drag it, and you can tilt any kind of 3D image across. So you can tilt it like this, and when you click and hold and drag, you can move in a circular form with your hand to move it 360 degrees like this, or you can check on any of the axes. You can go round and round and round and round, and you can be very specific by zooming into any location, and you can move across round and round with the mouse wheel clicked and hold. You can drag and you can pan around to any location of your choice. So depending, if you want to zoom in on this place, you have to make sure the mouse is in that place, and you can zoom in relative to anything around here. But if you want to zoom out, also zoom out, and then probably you want to zoom in around here, you can just come over here and everything will be zoomed in according to what is there. Okay, so it's very easy to use the mouse wheel and to navigate across within the studio if you have a mouse that has a mouse wheel, because it's very, very important that has this scroll wheel. Okay, it's very important to use a mouse that has a scroll wheel. Another thing that I want to show you is that you can right click at any given point with your mouse, and you can have other choices, like you can set the camera target, you can set the track point, you can have the map style and the viewport as well. Sometimes you can have 2 viewports and you'll be able to show multiple viewports. You can do that from here, or you can do that from here as well. Click and come over here, and you'll be able to see 2 viewports, one showing the top view of the camera and the other one showing the 3D view. Okay, so you can see right now you can show any angle, maybe from north, south, east and west, thereabout. And over here also you can navigate across. You can zoom in and out just like the way we do in the second one, in the 3D. Okay, so you can navigate, you can pan around as well with your mouse. You can pan around very easily, and you can zoom in to any location of your choice with the scroll wheel, just like the way you zoom in the other feature. And you can use this plus and minus sign as well to zoom out and to zoom in to any location of your choice, okay, within the top view of the camera. So let's go to f.studio.com and let's start maybe a fresh project. We can say landmarks, for example. Keep everything at default, and we can say start. So the first thing you need to do, you can achieve, or you can get to the places in 2 ways. If you know the globe very well, you can zoom into that particular location. Okay, but if you don't know the place, it's better to just do the search directly from here on the top left. You can just go ahead and search for any edifice or any kind of landmark or any specific location that you're trying to visualize or even trying to make animations on. So let's say in this case we have about 3 to 4 edifices that we want to look at. The first one is, let's search for the Eiffel Tower in France. And with just the searching, you'll be able to see some suggestions, and once you select any of them, you'll be able to be brought in directly over here. So you just give you some seconds to boot in or to be able to show the image, the 3D image very clearly. All right, so like we've explained, you can use your mouse, the left button, to pan around. You can pan around to any axis, and you can use the mouse scroll wheel to zoom in and zoom out by moving it to the top or down, just like we've explained in the previous class. And you can still hold on the mouse scroll wheel and just drag it, okay, and move your mouse, and you can see we are now seeing the 3D view of the Eiffel Tower, yeah, very clearly. So you can zoom into it, and you can see very clearly it is becoming much clearer and clearer with time. And you can just on your own pan around to be able to see. You can click and hold the mouse scroll wheel, and you can do a 360 of the Eiffel Tower, so you can have a clean visualization of what is within it and even the features that are around it. So it's very easy to make searches like this, and you can zoom out and even go straight from here to other places to be able to visualize other things and see for yourself. So this is highly powerful and very useful whenever it comes to searching things on the Google Earth. And if you want to make the animations, you can go ahead and search for a specific case and make your edifice make your animations from. So this is the Eiffel Tower. The next one is, let's try to search for the London Bridge. So you can just go ahead, London Bridge, As usual, you are going to see some suggestions down here. So you can see London Bridge, London, United Kingdom, and we can select it. And this is now going to directly zoom out and take us to London and show us the bridge. Okay, and as you can see, it has just shown us the bridge. And let's see, is this the London Bridge that I'm referring to? No, it's not this. It's this one. Yeah, this one. So specifically, you can zoom in and then you can be able to see the cable bridge. Okay, this one. You can see the clarity is becoming clearer and clearer. Let's give some seconds to actually become very much clearer. So you can see, you can zoom in, and as well you can pan around to see the details of the bridge. One of the key features that I like about this bridge is the fact that when the ships are about to cross, the bridge can fold into the compass and then it folds back. It's a very unique feature. It's a very, very interesting bridge. In the history of engineering is a landmark that people look out to. Okay, the design and some wonderful things about it. So you can easily zoom in to see different kind of part of it, and you can see different features from here. So this is the London Bridge. You can still hold down the scroll wheel, hold it down, and you can drag and move, rotate, and make 360 view of what you have here. So this is highly powerful. And in terms of visualization, you don't need drones, much of a drones, if you want to have these kind of animations nowadays. You can easily on your own pan around and zoom in and do some rotations and so on. So that's the London Bridge. Let's try to explore another edifice, which is the Edinburgh Castle. Let's try the Edinburgh Castle. So we can come over here and just search for Edinburgh. All right, so the Edinburgh Castle in Edinburgh and United Kingdom also, it's a very unique and historical castle that we can as well visualize. So let's give some seconds to finish zooming in. But right now you can see the castle coming up. All right, so you can see right now we can zoom in with our mouse. Okay, we can pan around and zoom to be able to see clearly. All right, so we can hold down the mouse wheel and drag to rotate, so you can easily see the view of the castle very, very nicely. You can see it, yeah. So you can zoom in to see any section of the castle that you are interested in very easily, and you can do a 360 also movement to any section that you are interested. Okay, you can even come inside the castle and visualize quite a lot of things here. So it's very, very easy to navigate to different sections, to different location, depending on you. If you know exactly what you are looking for, it's very easy. And with your mouse, just make sure it has the scroll wheel. You can be able to pan around and zoom in to any of the features. You can see we can zoom in to clearly even see the cars that are available here. Yeah, this is very, very nice and very clear, and even very powerful. So this is one of the most important ones. So let's look at one more landmark to just at least visualize. That landmark is going to be the Golden Gate Bridge in the US. All right, so you can see now we've just searched for it, and this is it. So you can zoom in as well to be able to visualize it, or on your own manually you can decide to hold the mouse wheel and visualize the 3D view, right? So we can have a better look at the bridge. This is also another wonderful engineering edifice that is well built, and you can see it very, very clearly. So you can zoom and pan around so you'll be able to see it. So it's actually very interesting to use the Google Earth Studio to navigate around to different edifices, to different structures. As far as you know what you are looking for, you can easily search and get to what you are looking for and then make animations out of it. So let's start with the Edinburgh Castle. This is a very important, very interesting edifice that we can always have a look. We can zoom in, or we can pan around, and we can zoom in and visualize the castle. You can use the mouse scroll wheel, drag and move it to also have another view of the castle. So you can see we can zoom in to have a clearer view of the cursor. You can hold down the scroll wheel and you can drag to move in a circular form, just like this. So what I want to do now, I want to create some keyframes of the movement of my camera from one point to this point. So let's start with the beginning. Zooming, I want to start my keyframing from an area, let's say around the castle. Let's say from this point, okay, down to the castle. What we need to do is we can keyframe this point and keyframe this. Okay, we can hit on this keyframe. This is going to add keyframes on the camera position as well as the camera rotation. So once we hit on this keyframe, all attributes, it's going to keyframe all the attributes that we have listed across here. Like we've highlighted earlier on, you can add attributes from here by just enabling the different attributes. With just simple click, you can enable them to add them to the all attributes. And once you're done, you hit on OK. Now, if you want to add them individually, the keyframes, you can add them individually. But for this, we want to keyframe all, both the camera position and camera rotation. We can hit on this. So everything is now keyframed. Now what we want is at the 10th second, I want to move my camera to this point. And then I want us to show the complete castle here. Okay, so I wanted to show the complete castle. So what I need to do is with this view now, I can also hit on keyframe all and everything is now keyframed. So you can be able to see from here, this is the standard Google Maps. You'll be able to see the movement from this view to this point. So if you take in back this one, you see that it is moving from this view directly to this view. So let's play it to have a preview. You can see the movement. It is just previewing from the first place and it's flying down to this place. Okay, and we have this final view. Now, one thing you should notice is that the camera is not directly on the target, and we want to set it to be facing the castle directly or facing the target from the beginning of the point to this point. Okay, so let's say we'll go back to our starting point. And how do we enable camera target? We can enable camera target by coming to attributes here. We can go up here and enable it directly from here, and we can see now we have a camera target. But our target, I don't want our target to be here. I want it to be at the castle. So let's disable this and say done. And then we can probably move to the castle here. And now we can set our target here. So another way to do it in addition to going to the add attributes is you can right click over here and set camera target. And right now we can see that the center of this is now our camera target. Now, if we go back to the beginning again, take a look at what is going to happen. If you play this, it is going to move from this point to this point, but with the target in mind. You can see it is facing the target directly and it's going to come directly and show us the target as we have highlighted. Okay, so this is the one way to add keyframes. And another way is we can maintain this and we can be able to showcase different sections of the castle. Okay, so let's maintain this view by just coming to a fresh place and hitting on the target on the keyframe. So everything is now keyframed. And now I want to have another view, which is probably this view of the castle. This one, you can turn it around and I want to have directly this view at the end. Okay, so what we need to do is we can set the keyframe also from here. In keyframe all, and now we can see still maintaining the same target. It is now giving us the second place. So when we move from the beginning, from this point, you can see it is going to maintain this position. Then it's going to move directly to the other view. You can see it is turning and it's going to give us that same end view that we have highlighted. So right now you can notice that it is slower in nature as regards the speed of the animation. You can select all the keyframes with just a simple selection over here, and you can bring them closer to each other to increase the speed, and you move them away, farther away to decrease the speed. So let's have a preview of that and see what I'm talking about. So you can see right now it is a bit faster in turning around to the second view. Okay, this is the idea. So another thing you can do with the keyframe is that if you notice, the movement is a bit too direct in the sense that you can see it is moving from the initial point to the end. Okay, so let's have a preview of that and see what I'm talking about. So you can see right now it is a bit faster in turning around to the second view. Okay, this is the idea. So another thing you can do with the keyframe is that if you notice, the movement is a bit too direct in the sense that you can see it is moving from the initial point the target. Okay, facing the target from the initial point just to the target is direct. If you like, you can add keyframes also around this, so it can show you around the castle. All right, so it's not going to be directly showing the castle and zooming in. So let's add another keyframe here, and by adding this keyframe, we can move this camera away and we can toggle this, select this and move it, so we can have a circular view of the castle moving a bit away. And you can use these Bezier handles to move and to control the curvature nature of the cycle. So you can try to play from the beginning, and I want it to have this circular movement across or around the castle. So you can see it is now showing us the circular movement. It's not just going directly to the castle, but it's showing us the circular movement and then centering to the point, okay, where we stopped. Then it now zooms and show us the other section that we're interested in. So this is actually how to deal with different kind of keyframes, add them and play around with them. You can always zoom around and play around with the keyframes however you want them, and you can add them individually or you can add them collectively. Like, another thing you should know is that at any given point, if you don't want a keyframe, you can always highlight, select everything, and you can delete those keyframes, and you can undo that with Command Z, and you'll be able to bring back the keyframes. So as usual, we'll start from scratch. You can start by coming to anywhere within your browser and just type in earth.google.com/studio and be brought into this very platform. And what we are going to do is we're going to start a blank project. So we can hit on blank project and we can name our project from here. So let's say fly through the Golden Gate Bridge. Okay, so we maintain the other features like the earth, the dimensions is going to be a HD 1920 by 1080, and then the duration this time around we're going to keep it at 30. So let's keep it at 30 seconds, or even let's keep it as 20 because we just want a very short animation. So we can remove this. So this is going to be 20 seconds, and the time code is kept at time code, and the time frame we keep it at 30 frame rate per second. So after specifying the project details, we can go ahead and click on start. So once you hit on start, you'll be brought into this very platform. So as usual, we can just go ahead and search for what we are looking for, which is the Golden Gate Bridge. So you can come over here, just go ahead and search for the Golden Gate Bridge. You can see it here. Okay, so you'll be brought in here. As you can see, if we try to, we can hold down the left click to pan around. Okay, so you can move the view around, or you can hold the scroll bar, okay, the scroll wheel on your mouse, and you can hold it, click and drag it, and you can move across just like so. So you can be able to have a clear view. So be able to have a clear view of the bridge, and you can scroll the wheel forward as we've explained earlier to move forward, and scroll it back to zoom out just like so. So now you are free to kind of pan around. So let's say we're going to start our panning or fly through from this point up to the other edge of the bridge. So we can do that by specifying our end point, which is the last end of the bridge here. So assuming we are going to stop here, we are going to fly up to this point, and I want to stop at an altitude of, let's say 100. So let's say an altitude of 100, and we can just maintain that altitude, and this is going to be our end point. So let's say we are flying through to this point. So this is going to happen probably at a time of, let's say 7 seconds. Okay, we'll fly through from the beginning to this point at 7 seconds. So what we need to do is we can lock in this point using the keyframes. Okay, you come to this attribute, you can keyframe all attributes by this, which means it's going to record this as the last point. So you can just go ahead and click on this, and this now gives us the this point as our last point. So let's go back to the beginning and let's see what is going to happen. So we are going to go back and identify the starting point of our fly through. So let's say this is the point. Okay, so assuming we are starting the fly through from this point to that edge, so we're going to maintain the same altitude of 100. All right, so it will fly through at the same altitude through the everything. So we can hit on the keyframes, and you can see right now we've keyframed everything. Now you can have a preview by just moving the playhead, and you can see it moves across directly up to the last point, which is what we want. But in cases if you want to see the details of the camera, you can always have these two views. You can come over here. You have these two views side by side with what is happening at the top. This is the camera view. You can set the different views from here, but right now we'll keep it at the top view, which is a clear one. We'll be able to see the direction the camera is taking up to from one point to the edge. Okay, from this point to the edge. And when we try to play this, you'll be able to see the movement is quite fast because the timing is very small and it moves in through the bridge directly to the edge. And if you want to be very specific, you can set in the camera target. The camera target will make sure you keep the camera at a specified target throughout the movement within the bridge. So let's go back to this point. Assume we want to set the camera target to the middle of this, so we can do that in two ways. The first one is we can come to the add attributes and we can add the camera target from here by just adding this. But the simplest one is you can come to the studio view. You can just right click here and say set camera target. So you can set camera target and you can see the target right now at this point. Right, so everything is going to be targeted towards this point. You have the option to move it if you want. So let's zoom out and try to play from the beginning and see what is going to happen with the camera target fully defined at this point. So you can see our fly through is being done fantastically up to the last point. I think I kind of like what I see. So if you want to make it a bit faster, you can still highlight all the keyframes and you can come back to the top and you can shift it here, maybe probably to 6 seconds, and it's going to make it a bit faster. So that's the first animation. The second one is I want to maintain this view of the end point up to these 7 seconds. Okay, so I want to hit another keyframe to create another keyframe, meaning that this is going to be the same view. But then the next thing is I want it to zoom out to give me a side view of the bridge. All right, something like this. Okay, so I want it to zoom out from the ending point here and then to give me a complete view of the side of the bridge, something like this. Okay, but then I want it to be in an animated way. I don't want it to okay, let's say this can happen at the seconds of, let's say at the 13th second. So what I want is probably I want to have this view. Okay, I want to have this view of the bridge, complete side view of the bridge. But I want it to do a 360 from that point. I want it to turn 360 to this point. How do I do that? Let me keyframe this as my last point. So let's go over here and add the keyframes. You can see we've keyframed this point. Now, when you look at this from here, you'll notice that it's going to be very boring for you to simply move from the end point down here. So it's going to be, and I want it to be a 360 degrees turn like this up to this point, so you can show me the other side of the bridge. So what do I need to do? I can come over here. Within here I can set another keyframe. Okay, so once I set this set of keyframes, I can move the camera away and I can click on this. I can now move this away. Okay, so I can have some view of the bridge. Okay, another clean view. I can use this small, I can click on this and use this to control the curvature again of how the cycle is going to be. So I want this to be like this. And once I play, it's going to come through like this 360, and then it's going to show me around to the other end. But then I want to have a clear view of the entire bridge. So it will move and show me the entire bridge, then turn this 360. So what do I need to do? I can create another keyframe from here, from around here, to make it smoother. Let's create another keyframe. So we can simply drag this, okay, and we can use the small arrow to control the curvature as well. Okay, so we can make it curve in a very perfect way. All right, so this one also we can move it a bit so we can capture everything about the circle. Okay, we can make this and just control this as well. Move it a bit closer to the bridge. You get the message. You can play around with it however you want it. So this is what I want to do. Let it move from here. It is just going to go around
round and round until it show me the complete side of the bridge, and then it will turn to this end and give me this last view. Okay, so this is the last view. Now the next thing, which is the final movement that I want to do, is at the 20th seconds I want it to zoom in back to where we started. So how do I do that? I can go ahead and define the last point, which is here. Okay, I want it to zoom back to this point. Okay, back to this point where we started, somewhere around here. Okay, so I want it to zoom back to this point. So I can keyframe all of this at this point. I keyframe this. Okay, so this is the last point. So you can see right now everything is defined. You can come over and have a preview of what you've just created. So you can see this is going to be a fly through, complete from beginning to the end, and then it's going to take a turn. Okay, maintaining this view, it is going to take a turn, and yeah, it maintains the view, and then it should take a turn and show me this complete side of the bridge with the 360 degrees. You can see, yeah, it takes it 360 degrees, and then it now zooms out to the starting point where we started at the beginning. Okay, if you notice, the zooming out is quite small, it's quite slow, so we can come over and select all the keyframes, and we can come up and move them a little bit so it becomes a bit faster. So assuming we have this Golden Gate Bridge project that we are working on, and we try to save this. Usually at the beginning of the tutorial, I've highlighted that to save a project, you can come all the way here, come to File, and you can go to Save. Okay, you can save directly as you progress. But then if you want to save as a document, for example, as a folder or as a file within the Google Earth, you can just go ahead and click on Save As, and it will pop up here to give the project a name. So for example, I may want to give this a name. So let's say the bridge animation, and now the location is going to be by default saved as at my project. Okay, so you find it in this my project. If you don't want it saved there, you can just click on change the location, and you can just go ahead and create another folder. So everything is under this Edinburgh project, under this my project. So you can come over here, new, and then create a new folder. So for example, I can call it the bridge project. Under the, so, and hit on enter, and you can see we've gotten a folder, the bridge project. So we can select this, can just go ahead and click on save. Now this project, the bridge, is being saved under the bridge folder. Now that's the first way to save a particular project. Now we can export it outside of Google Earth Studio, so you can be able to use it on another computer and probably continue with your animations creation and so on. So this is done by saving in a .esp file. So you can come to file as well, and instead of save as, you can do export. Okay, so you can export in Earth Studio project. You can export in either .esp or .esb or 3D tracking data in .jsx and .json. You can save on this. So usually the one I usually use in case of inter-computer editing, I do it with the .esp. So I can just go ahead and select .esp, and then we can give the name of the bridge. You can specify the project, and you just go ahead and export, and it's going to give you the exported file over here. This is your .esp file, which you can import in any case. Now, for example, if I have this, okay, if I have this and I want to start a new project, or I want to continue on a fresh project on that particular project on another computer, I can come to open project over here, and you can come click on this drop down like you've highlighted earlier in the beginning of the tutorial. You can import .esp file or open the last project. You can easily open the last project if it is saved. So you can say import .esp file, and you can just easily navigate to wherever you have that ESP file. For example, this one, I can just come over and click on this, and you can see I have just imported the complete project that I have started at the beginning, that I've created earlier on, and made animations out of it. So right now I can continue to work on this particular project that on a different device. So let's have a preview of what we've created in the previous class, and then we're going to learn how to render it and export it as an MP4 video that we can play or share with different platforms. So let's have a preview of what we've created in the previous class, and then we're going to learn how to render it and export it as an MP4 video that we can play or share with different platforms. So let's have a preview of what we've created in the previous class, and then we're going to learn how to render it and export it as an MP4 video that we can play or share with different platforms.
So perfect. This is what we have created in the beginning. So what we need to do now is to render and export it. And to render and export any animation that you've created, you can come to render over here at the top right. You can click on render, and already we have a name given to it already. So you can see this is cloud renders. Okay, you can click and you have other options, for example. All right, so let's say we go with cloud render, and you specify that this is going to be a video and it's going to be in MP4. This is MP4. So you specify the frame rate, which we have. It's going to be frames 0 to 600. We keep everything at default. The dimensions, you keep everything at default. Let's pause this. Keep everything at default, 1920 by 1080. The attribution. Okay, attribution is very important because in the this is provided by Google, and you have the option to specify the location of the attribution. You can do it. The default is the bottom right. You can click on this drop down and you'll be able to see you can have bottom left, you can have bottom center, or top right, or thereabout. But I think I like it at bottom right. And if you like, you can customize also and move it a bit down here, which is okay because Google has done a good job. Now you don't need drones sometimes to carry out this aerial view and create fantastic animations. Okay, so this is custom. Okay, so we specify the location. This is where we want to keep the attributes. So the x-axis and the y-axis, we keep everything at default. The text alignment, everything at automatic. And I usually don't go with the advanced features. I keep everything at default. The texture quality, everything at default, and it gives me a fantastic result. So once you just make sure that you have identified and check in all of the features that you have here, you can just go ahead and say submit, and this is going to be submitted. So you can see submitting fly through the Golden Gate Bridge animation to Cloud Manager. So this is going to take some time. Okay, once it is done, you're going to receive an email that your rendering is done, and there's going to be a link for you to just click and download your animation. Okay, so this is going to be sent to your email. So everything is done here. You're just going to refer back to the email and then have a result of what you have just done. So you have the option to download or manage renders directly from here. You can click on manage renders and it will bring you over to this platform. So you'll be able to see all the files that you are trying to render, and you can come over here, click on this download, and it's going to start the download directly, and you can clean up all the cloud renders that you have. Okay, so you click on this and it's just going to pop up and download your render, the video or the animation. So you can see it over here. You just give it some seconds and it's going to finish the download, and you can just visualize it and use it for your content. Okay, so it has just downloaded. So you can see, you can click on this to have access to it, and we can play it in the background for you to see what we have just done. Okay, so you can see it. Just take a look at the clarity of how sharp the video is going to be compared to when we're creating it in the studio. So all our animations are done in a specific time, time of the day. Everything is done in one period of time. So this time around, we want to simulate the changing in the condition, in the time, over time, what happens from afternoon to evening or to night. Okay, so and I want to do that at this point. I want to change the timing from here, or let's say from here. The movement from here to this point is going to be from the afternoon to the night. So how do you do that? The first thing you need to do is to come to add attributes here, and you can click on add attributes. You can see time of day here, so you can click on it to enable it. All right, this is enabling time of the day. So once you say done here, you can go back here and check. So you have the time over here. So the timing at this time, which is the last time I used, is 9, which is GMT. Look at it, take a look at it here, because this is GMT and this is San Francisco. 9 o'clock in the morning is actually night in San Francisco. So you have to know where the time difference before you start animating. Okay, what is the time difference? But this is in reference to GMT. So let's start with you have to make sure you set the date correctly, because the timing also time of the year also matters as the day and night varies. Okay, so the summertime and the winter time, the timing varies as well as the night or day condition. So you should take note of all this. Now, if you want to see afternoon, because I want to start the simulation at afternoon, so let's go to 22. This is 10 o'clock in the night. So it is usually in the afternoon, maybe around 2 p.m. in San Francisco. So maybe let's go to 1 p.m. So we can go to 21. Okay, so this is 1 p.m. in San Francisco. So what you need to do is at this point, you can hit on this keyframe if you are certain with this date and this time. So you can hit on keyframe, this one, to create the initial keyframe. So this is afternoon at this time. So as you move on, you can see right now it is still afternoon. We can move to this point. Maybe let's say at this point, I want to change the timing to evening. Okay, so let's say this is evening is going to be 9, 10, 11, 12. So let's take it to something like 12. So this is going to be 24. All right, let's see 24. You can see it's now evening and it's changing over time. You can see from here, you can see the variation in the timing and the atmospheric change. You can see it is changing. This is evening. So if you want to go to probably, let's say at this point, I can create another keyframe, and this time around I can go to, let's say 3, which is going to be darker over there, right? So once I hit, it's going to, you can see it's getting darker from here, and I can get it to this point. This is our last point, and at this point I want to make it at, I want to create another keyframe and make it at 6, right? So 6 is a bit dark. So you can see it's completely dark. So let's see the transformation. It will stay at the normal time until it gets to the first keyframe, which is 1 p.m. Then the second keyframe, you can see the variation, okay, in the timing until it gets to the midnight, okay, or it gets completely dark. So you can see the variation. So you get the message. The whole thing is to witness the transformation in time, okay, the change in time over time, all right? The change in time and the atmospheric condition from afternoon to night within the shortest period that we have. So this is actually playing around with the position of the sun and the timing, all right? So this is very easy depending on what you are trying to create. If you are trying to create an animation of something that can talk about the variation in time over a given period, then you can do this and you can be able to artificially apply the change of time of day. Okay, so at a certain time of the day, this is the animation that took place, and so on. So that is how easy it is. So just make sure you pay attention to the time difference in the area that you are simulating or that you are animating, so that you can get the perfect time at any given point. Now the easing is a very cool animation that we can add to our keyframes in terms of movement or any kind of position animation that we're trying to create. For this tutorial, we're going to keep it very simple. We're going to use the most simplest keyframes, and then we can use that to navigate and show the impact and how things can change as we move in with different kind of properties. Now let's take an example of using this Eiffel Tower, okay, the Eiffel Tower in France, and we're going to use this as an example, maybe probably showcasing some part of the city from here and then moving directly to this section of the Eiffel Tower. All right, so let's start by selecting the place where we want to showcase, and we're going to use a simple keyframe at this moment. Let's go in with the pan tool over here. So let's go and click on the keyframe to have just a single keyframe at this section of the city. Now what we need to do is to pan to the other section showcasing the Eiffel Tower. Okay, so this is the first point. So let's move to the second point where we want to create the pan. All right, so we'll come over here and we can kind of zoom in or pan into the section containing the Eiffel Tower over here. So you can see we have 2 keyframes. The first one is you can play this to have a preview of what happens from the first keyframe to the second keyframe. And that's fantastically what I want. The pan effect caused by the keyframe, okay, from one section of the city to the second section containing the Eiffel Tower. Now this panning is so direct and is plain, and it doesn't showcase anything. Okay, it's so direct and it's a bit boring. So we can play around with the other easing effects. So for example, you can go ahead and select the keyframes. Now the first thing is you can right click on any of the keyframe to have other easing properties. Like the first one, you have the auto ease, which can automatically assign the ease in and ease out at the different keyframes. We have the ease in, which will have effect on the ease in. It will automatically take care of the ease in. And we have the ease out, which will also take care of the ease out properties. So you can have linear, which is the default. Right now we have the default easing. The one that we just shown is linear, and we have step easing, which hold down the first effect until it gets to the second effect, or the second keyframe before it now put in the effect. And then we have this advanced, which is the time reverse keyframing. We have each one of them. You can go ahead and explore them, but for this tutorial we're going to try just one of it, which is the auto ease. Let's try and go ahead and use the auto ease. So let's select this, and you can see by mere look, there are some the arrows that showcase on the keyframes just after the keyframes and before the keyframes, showcasing that there is the ease in property attached to the keyframes over here. So when we try to play this, it's going to play in a very different way, at least with some fluid nature. So you can see it is flowing freely with some fluid nature. It's a bit more cooler than when it was before, so showing a very boring transformation from the one section of the city to the other side. Now let's put in more properties. Let's look at more properties by coming down here and clicking on any section of the property that you're trying to keyframe and study. So let's click on this, and we have this graph feature of the keyframe. So the first thing you need to notice here is down here you have these two dots, which signifies the keyframes that we've created, and this yellow line is just the link in between the two. Okay, the flow of the movement. This is a graph of the angle as well as with respect to the timing. Okay, so over here you can see the yellow sign signifying the keyframe or the graph that you are dealing with. Okay, what property you are dealing with. So over here you have the option to use these lines. These lines, you can extend them, they are extendable, and you can move them up or down. They also determine the performance or the behavior of the keyframe feature. So when you draw them further, you'll be able to see that the performance is going to be slower and then it's going to be faster towards the end. That's a property that you can study, and we can draw this also further to have another different fluidity or dynamic nature. So you can see it moves a bit faster, then it now slows down. So these are different properties that you can add to your keyframe, okay, or to your animations using these Bezier tools. They call them Bezier tools, okay. So what they do, you can as well move them up or down, or you can move them across. You can move them like this and make them come to the vertical line over here. You can move them to vertical, and it's going to give you also another sort of bumpy nature. You can see it bumps in and then it goes in slowly to the end. And you can select this as well and bring it down, and you have another property altogether, and then it's going to move a bit faster to the end. So these are properties you can play around with depending on what you want to create and depending on how good you want to be with your easing properties. Now for this tutorial, we're going to keep it simple, and we're going to have something like this. I think this is cool. It's going to move a bit faster here and then slows down to the other section of the tower. Now to the right here, you have a number of properties. You have this. You can zoom in, vertical zoom in to fit. You can do auto zoom to fit vertically, and you can zoom into selected keyframe. This is going to cover the entire time frame. If you select it, everything is going to cover the entire time frame. So you'll be able to see it very, very clearly. Okay. Here you have it zoomed in to fit in the vertical direction. This is in the horizontal direction. So depending on what you are trying to create. And over here, you can take in the keyframes and move them up or down, however you want them. And if you want, you can, in some cases, you may decide to zoom in and maybe go out of this. Sometimes you can be custom if you remove this, and you can go out of this and keep zooming in and out or thereabout. If you want to come back at any given point, you can always activate this and it comes back to visibility and can make it fit to the timeline and you see everything. Now you can manually on your own also use this line to move in or to extend or move back the graph of the keyframes. Now another thing is this is how to add in different properties to the ease in and play around with it. But then what happens when you have multiple properties added to this particular case? So in some cases, let's get out of this graphical section by clicking on the pan tool, and we are now back to our normal keyframes that we've created. So assuming at the beginning here, I want to put in the camera position keyframe. I want to select this and keyframe this at the beginning, and then I want to come over here and to the end point where we have this ending, and I want to add in another keyframe of the same properties, but then this time around the camera properties. Now, how do you deal with this kind of keyframes that are multiple, and you may want to access the same visual graph and see how you can play around with them? And to do that, you can start by selecting the first feature over here. You can hold down the command key or the control key and select multiple, and you'll be able to see them appearing. Or you can use the first option. Again, hold down the first option and you can come over and select everything, and you can see all of the graphs are selected. And one thing you should pay attention to is the graph, the colors here are determined by the colors by the side here as well. So you know exactly what property or what attributes you are dealing with when playing with the features. Now you can select all of them, select all of the keyframes, and then you can right click and put them on auto ease. Okay, so we'll put them on auto ease, and each one of them you can play around with the feature. So when you try to play, you can see they move in this dynamic and simple nature. But then in some cases you may want to make them more visible, and you may want to select all of them. For example, you can select all of these, and you can select these Bezier tools and extend them towards the right, and you can select also these ones and try to extend them also in this direction. You can go as far as you want, and you can tilt them however you want. All right, okay, so you can see now it's a complete different feature that we've just added to the entire thing. Okay, so you can always click out anywhere around the dead ends to be able to click out. Now you can be able to see that you have added the keyframes and you have added the ease in property in your keyframes. How do we use keyboard shortcuts to enhance our experience and to enhance the navigation within the Earth Studio? So the first thing is, let's look at the basics. What kind of keyboard shortcuts do they have? You can open any project in Google Earth Studio and you can navigate to the help menu over here, and you'll be able to see the keyboard shortcuts down here. You can enable it by hitting on the shift and the / and to enable the keyboard shortcuts. There are different types of keyboard shortcuts. They are classified from general shortcuts that you have everywhere, like Command Z to undo things, Command Shift Z to redo things, Cut, Command X, and Copy, Command C, and Command V to paste or thereabout. These are general things. Then unit bars, you can use the space bar to start previewing things. You can use the space bar as well to pause previewing things. Control A or Command A to select everything or thereabout. Toggle the full screen with the letter F. While you are working, you can easily toggle full screen with the letter F. So for example, with the letter F, you can easily enter the full screen and you can easily go back to the normal arrangement. So you have these much features. You can access the user preferences with this. Only Command K or Command K will get you the user preferences, so you can edit basic things. So these are general shortcut keys. Now, as regards to projects, you can open a project with Command O, or open the last project with Command Shift O, or you can save and save as. These are very basic project shortcut keys. You can do export project file with Command E. So just look at it and pick the ones that are very, very needy or handy for you to start using, because it will shorten out your experience and you enjoy working with Earth Studio when you learn about the shortcut keys. Now, in terms of time frame, you have this. You can do the set workspace start with B and workspace end with B or with N. Okay, so you can move one previous frame, next frame. You can do that with the arrow keys, and you can jump 5 frames or thereabout. Let's try to show something like that here. Okay, so you can move 5 frames if you want with the shift and the arrow key. You can see I'm moving 5 frames around the subject, or you can use the backward arrow key to move backward 5 frames at a time. And another key important one that I like is the J and K. Okay, J and K, just like the way they are in the keyboard. You can always use the J and K to move from one keyframe to another. You can see we can move backwards from one keyframe to another with the letter K. With the letter K, you can move forward one keyframe at a time. And with the letter J, you can move backward one keyframe at a time. And in cases when you are working without a mouse, you can always rotate, or you can have a clear view of the, sometimes you may have the subject like this and you want to have another view and you don't have a mouse. You can hold down the option key and you can move around within your pad. Okay, and you can see right now you can rotate and you can tilt it to any angle of your choice with just holding down the option key in your keyboard. And if you want to create keyframe all at any given point, you can just hit on the command and enter key and it's going to keyframe everything. Okay, all the attributes are going to be keyframed along that. Once you hit the command and enter, it's going to keyframe all. Okay, so this is very a cool way of creating keyframes faster. Again, we talk about the toggling of the auto ease. You can see from the smooth path to linear, we can toggle between them with the command key and click. Okay, once you hold the command key and click, you can see you can toggle between the two, the smooth and the linear. You can toggle with the command key. With the shift and the arrow key, you can be able to toggle your narration. You can toggle around the subject. With shift and the arrow key, hold down the shift key, it can be moving in a circular form around your subject. Okay, shift and arrow, you can see I'm circulating forward and anti-clockwise, or clockwise and anti-clockwise with the backward arrow. Very easily you can do this. And while you're working as well, you can toggle the guide visibility if you want to have the guidelines. Okay, the guides are very important sometimes to enable you know that you have limits. You should not go off limits. So you can enable that by using the option plus G to toggle the guides, the guidelines, and you can disable them also with option plus G. You can enable or disable them directly. And you can do the option shift G to have you can toggle the other circle guidelines. If you want to have these guidelines, the ones that filled up everything, you can toggle with the option shift G, and you can toggle in between. Okay, between these ones and this one that have covered everywhere within the canvas. So you can toggle around with the option shift G, and you can go back to normal with the same option shift G, and you can continue with your work. One last shortcut that I always like is multi-view shortcut keys, which you can reach out by using the W1 to give you the only one view, W2 to give you the double view. Okay, you can toggle between the views with just 1 and 2. You can toggle between the views, and with the F you can toggle the full screen and out of full screen. So I think the most basic thing is you can go on and take a look at all of these shortcut keys and see which one and which ones among them can be extremely valuable for you, and you can try to master them as you learn across this Google Earth Studio. It's very easy to learn them, and once you practice with using them, you become perfect with them. All right, so this concludes this class about learning the shortcut keys in Google Earth Studio. Feel free to just go ahead and have a look at them and pick the ones that are best for you.
So I think this concludes this class about learning the basics of Google Earth Studio and even using it to create some fantastic animations for your own content creation. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, and please don't forget to always hit the like and subscribe buttons to stay connected to this channel for more and more videos like this. I will see you in my next video. Bye.